Okay, so hello guys. I hope you are all well. My name is Joachim Okech, and I'm going to be an instructor today. And in the next 4 classes that we're going to have. So our masterclass is 5 keys to use ArchiCAD like a pro. And if you've interacted with me online so far on my Instagram profile and such, there was a post I had put there on the 5 keys that I believe will make anyone be able to use ArchiCAD like a pro. So 5 keys are getting organized. Second one is using time savers. The third one is controlling your space. Fourth one is modeling smart so that we are able to draw less. And the final one is exporting your file, your project, so that you can share it with clients, other consultants as you collaborate, and such and such. So today we are going to get started on the getting organized part, and we're going to focus on 3 major things. And the first one is file management. The second one is libraries, checking on your libraries, and the final one is working on your work environment, on your interface. So maybe as we continue, you can type in the chat box where you're joining us from, and what you look forward to learning. So let's get started. So if you've used ArchiCAD for a while now, you know the basic functions, saving, opening files, creating a new project, closing. So in addition to the normal ones, the open, save, save as, we also have this handy tab here called project info, the info. So I'm going to click here on the project info just to get a feel of what you're working with. And we find here that ArchiCAD has some fields that it would like us to fill in. So if you're working on a project and you might have a name, you might have a description, a project ID, project code, number, you'd have your site details, you had your building details. So ArchiCAD allows us to be able to fill in all this. So basically, this is a way to give your project more data and being able to take more control of your project through file management. In addition, as we save our projects, we'd like to move from this habit of giving names. I'm sure you've interacted with memes in the past of someone having multiple files, final 1, final 2, new final. So how will we move away from this and being able to have files, being able to know which file was saved on which date? So a nice way to do this would be saving your file based on the project name as well as the project date. So how I do this, let's for example use this file here. If I am working on, let's say, a bungalow, and let's use a client, for example, the client is Otieno. So I like to, number one, use this VZL is a short form of the company I work with, Basil. So that's the first place I start, and then let's give who am I working with? It's Otieno. So architecture has different project phases. We have scheme design, we have outline design, we have detail design. So let's say, for example, this project I'm working in is on concepts. So I'll call the concept design. And the date today is 6 February 2023. So sorry, 23. So, and save that. So if I'm able to save my files in this way, it becomes very easy to keep track of them. And best practice would be if you make a slight change or a whole day's worth of work on a project, you'd want to save it as a new, giving it a new name. You might run into errors where a file crashes and we wouldn't want to lose most of our work. So saving your file regularly and giving it new names as you go on gives us the ability to track, number one, track our progress, and number two, keep our files safe. Yeah, so that's that on file management, saving, and project info. The next step we're going to do is to check on Action Center. By default, ArchiCAD, when you open it, it has this tab open. You can also find it by going to Info and File Info and click on Action Center. So ArchiCAD gives us a summary here telling us what might be going well or wrong with our project. So we have these check marks here. If it's either a tick, it's a question, or an issue. So if we click on drawings, there's a question here. It's telling us that drawings have not been checked in this session yet to detect if they're up to date. So let's click on check on drawings. If we check on drawings, if everything goes well, it will tick. But we are also able to check on drawing manager. And there is this status where it's been placed, where it's coming from, is it an internal path, is it an external path. So if you are to run into any errors on your project, it's important to refer to your Action Center to know maybe your drawings could be wrong. They might be placed in a wrong place, or they might have been deleted. So be sure to use that. The updates, it tells us that you might have unavailable updates, and if an update is available, just open your browser, download the latest program version. Another error that we are very likely to run into is one concerning libraries. So sometimes you might open a file that was sent to you by someone, and you might run into a problem where it's telling you some library parts are missing. Might be doors, might be windows, might be furniture. So one way to remedy this is to go to Library Manager. And when you open that, it opens this dialog box for us. There are two parts. There is libraries in object, there is embedded library. So the libraries in project, we have this ArchiCAD library 26, and it links to where you installed your ArchiCAD library from. We also have MEP library. So, and when you click on either of these, you are able to control the settings via the second tab here. So if I click on ArchiCAD library 26, I have my background images, the HDR, IES samples, and all that. Same as MEP, there is these things here. So what happens if I say import, I open a file that was created in ArchiCAD 22. If I open it, I might find that some libraries are missing. So how would I remedy this? Best way to do that would be to go here to add and add linked library. It gives me a dialog box here. So there was a time I had opened a file created using ArchiCAD library, ArchiCAD 19. So I needed to download the ArchiCAD 19 library. So you can see it's here on my documents. So once I select what library I'm interested in, go to that, and it gives me this warning. If there are parts which will be duplicated, they are that I might, so it's asking me, do I consolidate to clean up the list, or do I load anyway? So once I consolidate, I need to reload and apply before making any more changes. So let me reload and apply there. And it takes some time to do all that. As we wait, I'll show you how it works in action. So I'm using ArchiCAD 26. So I'm going to open a file that was made in ArchiCAD 23. And so let me browse for a new project. Yeah, so let me go to quick access. Let me pick this one, made in ArchiCAD 23 here. And let me open with exclusive access. So as it opens, ArchiCAD will ask you if there are issues with the library. That's one of the first things that it will ask you about. So let's give it a moment as it loads the library parts. Okay, so we were lucky this came well, but let's just go to library manager. Oh yeah, so because I had consolidated my libraries, it was able to, yeah, but we see here that there is a warning that it's given me, and it's telling me that there is a missing library part from attributes. This image here is the one that is missing. So if it happens that something in your library is missing, ArchiCAD will tell you what the problem may be. And in this project, I had some custom parts which you can find in this embedded library. So if you decide to create some custom parts, say I want to create a new surface, or a new surface, let's use that to begin with. And I might decide that I would want to browse for a new image. If this image is not here in ArchiCAD, and let's just take this image and work with it. This image that I'm going to add, this image will be added. So let's just click OK, go to library manager. This new image which I add here is instantly added into my embedded library. So what embedded library basically means is that any custom it's a container for any custom objects, fields, any things that you're going to add into your project that are not by default found in ArchiCAD. These are controlled via the embedded library. So let me undo that. I have the ability to delete. So let me delete that. Tell me used instances will be missing. So yeah, and it tells me that there is a reload needed. excuse me. So let me reload. Let me reload there. Yeah. So with the library manager, if you are able to do all this, you will not have issues. So we found that the image which I deleted, it will show up on my missing library parts. So this is just best practice on what happens if you lose a project. So segue into my final part of the presentation on the work environment. If you take a look at my interface, it's different from the default one. So how ArchiCAD tools are organized, they are organized into toolbars and palettes. So we can control the appearance of these toolbars by going to the window here, and we have toolbars palettes. So let's start by saying hide toolbars and palettes. So it just shows us completely nothing but the drawing area. And when we start here, so let's start organizing our ArchiCAD work environment. Let's start with the basic one. The most basic that we would have, let's just show our toolbars and palettes. So when we open our window, we can start knowing which toolbars, which are which. So we have edit elements basic, we have standard basic, we have collaboration. And when you go to palettes, we have the toolbox, which is active. We have the info box, we have the status bar, we have the navigator. So I'll run you through which is which. So the first one, so let's just click on each and see what happens when we switch off one. Let's take away the toolbox. So we see that has disappeared. Window, let's take away the info box. So the one up there has disappeared. Let's take away the navigator. So let's put them back on. We have the info box. So the toolbox is where you are able to select your tools. So ArchiCAD has five types of tools. We have our selection tools, the arrow, the marquee. We have our design tools, we have our viewpoint tools, and we have our document tools. So actually 4. Yeah. So how do we want to? How can we make it in a way? Currently, as we see here, if I open all these, see here that my document area, I can't see everything and I have to scroll. So how would we be able to reorganize our drawing area or our interface such that we are able to access all these tools without the need to collapse, without the need to scroll? So the way to do this is by going to options, check on work environment, and let's click on work environment. And when we click on work environment, so there are a few items here. We have the user preference schemes, we have the company standards, we have the shortcuts, we have tools, we have command layout. So under tools, let's check on toolbox. So when we have our toolbox groups here, so these groups here, we have select, design, viewpoint, document. So when I click on this, I have 3 options. I can either just have the icon, or I can have the icon plus the name. So how I like to do it is to have the icon only, and there's also a check mark here which asks us would we like to have this pinned. So let's just make that change and see what happens. So immediately you've seen that everything has been collapsed. So we have our design group, we have our viewpoint group, we have our document group. So let's resize this. We can resize it by hovering over the edge. We have the mouse cursor turns into that arrow. So we can resize that to have it as one column, but I like to keep mine at 2 columns. So let's resize it as that. Keep it clean like that so we are able to see everything. Let's go back to our work environment. We have here some tool group options. So when we select this design, so we always keep group open, show icon and tool icon only, but we also have the ability to create new groups. I might decide to further reorganize my design. I might say I want to have primary design or basic design elements, basic design. So let's click on OK. So when we have basic design, what would I like to have? I'd want to have probably my wall, my column, my beam, window, door, and object, and let's say roof, slab. Anything else? Yeah, those. So I have that, and I can rename this group to complex design. So what did we have in the other one we had? So let's rename that. Let's take away wall, column, beam, slab, roof. What else? Let's take away door, window, and say remove. And we can drag this up so that it goes on over complex design. Yeah, so we have our basic design, wall, column, basic elements. We can also drag these so that they show up differently. So I have my roof, slab, wall, column, beam, and then under my complex design, and I have my shelves, my stairs. So I can reorganize them by frequency of use, skylights, maybe my objects. So let me take away object from that. Let me remove it. There is usually a tool for equipment, but I seem not to be seeing it at the moment. Oh yeah, so if you are into modeling MEP work, from duct all the way to more fittings, this we might add a tool group, a new tool group, and call it new group. Let's call it MEP. Let's select this and add selected. Let's drag it up a bit and say OK. Yeah, so basically you see how ArchiCAD is made in a way that it allows us to reorganize our workspace as we please. So in addition to the toolbox, we also have our info box here, and we have our navigator. So let's click on that, say show navigator, and we can resize it a bit. So remember, drag over your mouse there, then drag to resize. So in addition, we can remove it from this position. So when I hover on the top here over this line, it gives me a move arrow. So, and if I want to dock it again, so that process of moving it is undocking. So I'd want to dock it again. So let me hover. It's giving me some trouble because I have two screens. Yeah, that's a sweet spot. Yeah, so I have it here. So for my info box, I might decide to remove it there, place it here. So as we move our palettes around, it's smart enough that it gives us the best shape depending on where we place it. So you can play around with this and organize them as you see fit. So when we do all this and we would want now to retain this work environment, as ArchiCAD calls it, how do we retain them? So the way we do this is by saving schemes. So our profile is a selection of schemes. So we have user preference, we have company standards, we have command layout. So this, which I use, my default one, I saved these schemes and I've set it as default. So let's create a new profile. So when we go to tool schemes, we have our current, how we've organized our toolbars and palettes. We have our tool schemes here. So let's choose stores. Let's call it new. Do we have new company standards? No, we have not have any new. Command layout, it's the basic one. Yeah, as well as workspace schemes, we've created a new one. So that controls tab bar appearance, palette, and toolbar size and arrangement, docked and undocked status of palettes and toolbars. And our tool schemes, it's not telling us what it contains, but let's also save this as new and store that. So when we have now our profiles and we want to create a new profile, so we have these schemes. So we have our standard user company, which we've not made any changes to, and let's call it new profile. Yeah, so when we open our new profile, that's what happens. So in addition to the default ones, here are a few of the tools which I like to use. So I like to use my drafting aids. So let me drag it there. So drafting aids, here we can have guidelines, we can have surface snap, element snap, parallel constraint, perpendicular. So basically, let me play around with this parallel constraint. So let's say I have a line here. So let's say I want to draw a line parallel to this from here. So how I do this is choose this parallel constraint, select my reference, and then wherever my mouse is, it's either it remains parallel at all times. So I can choose the same for perpendicular. You see it remains perpendicular, and I can say it to be angle bisector. So my angle is there. Let's look again. So select that. You see now my line bisects my angle here. So this is how, so that's the reason why I like to have this. So we can also dock it down here. So let me place it there. Another toolbar that I like to use is Simple 3D. Yeah, Simple 3D. So under Simple 3D we have our, is it really Simple 3D? No, not really Simple 3D. Yeah, 3D visualization. Yeah, that's I think, yeah, it's 3D visualization. So let's get rid of that. So 3D visualization, I can have my number one, open 3D window just from there. Choose, is it axonometry or perspective? I can choose my projection settings from there. So let's create a very simple model and show you how this works. Let me create a slab. Let me create some walls here. Let me create a roof. Let's make it that. Yeah. So click that to open the 3D window. Right now it's on perspective. You can click to show in axonometry. Projection settings. You're only able to control some things if we have perspective settings here. So we can control where the sun is. We can control where our camera is, camera angle, and what's the focus of that camera. We can control our view cone and say to choose perspective. We can control our camera height. So let's make that to be maybe 1500. Our target, let's say our target is also around there, 1000, and see what changes. So this will be a very quick way of creating your views. Yeah, so in addition to that, under my 3D, the 3D settings palette, I also have explore model. I can walk around as a first person user. If you're a gamer, you know how this experience is. The next one here is orbit. So instead of clicking O, I can just access it here. I also have the ability to look to. So if I want to align my camera view such that it's on that surface, so I'll just say look to, and you see instantly this cross here, it tells us where our focus is. You see that it's changed. I can also look to perpendicular of clicked surface. So if I click on that, so maybe you want to have elevation views or some sort of, so I'm able to control this using my palette. Yeah, so I can also control my 3D styles. So we have some styles here. So let's work with white model. So the basic one, default one, is simple shading. So here I can control my sky color. Maybe I decide to make it that, make my ground color that. And when I click OK, you see that all these change. But maybe I've gone overboard, so I want to undo this or tone it down a bit, so I can play around with this blue. Yeah, that's closer to the sky. Make this green a bit darker. Yeah, a little less green. Yeah, so having this, just digress a bit, but this is just an example of what having palettes organized, they help you to be more organized as you work. Yeah, so we've made some changes. So let's go back here to work environment, and now I'm sure we've changed our workspace scheme. So we have a new custom one because we added the palettes down here. So if we do not want to create a new one, let's just click on the new here, choose redefine, and it will tell you this action will redefine. Our tool schemes, we did not change that. No, that just focuses on the toolbox here. So because we did not change that, that remains. Yeah, so yeah, tomorrow we are going to work on, we're going to check a bit on the work environment, but I'm going to teach you how to edit your shortcuts, excuse me, how to edit your shortcuts, how to create new ones, and how to use the existing ones. Yeah, so I hope had you've learned something new. Maybe if you have some questions, something that's plaguing you right now, it might be an opportunity for everyone to learn. So you can unmute yourself. Yeah, we'll give, let's say, 20 minutes if you have a good stream of questions, so that we might ask, yeah, also comments, compliments, yeah, concerns as well. Yeah, thank you, Kimani. Uh, yes, Sharon. Okay. Yes, Sharon. Oh, okay. Let's give her a minute. As yes, Sharon, you had a question. Okay. Yeah, this toolbox here. What the tool scheme does is it stores how you organize your tools here. So this on the toolbox. So that's what the tool scheme does. So if you want to retain your profile and you want to use that every time, uh, as soon as I update my scheme here, so let's say I update, let me redefine this new here, and I have my tool scheme, it's retained. So this new profile, so long as it's referencing this tool scheme and the workspace scheme, the changes will be reflected every time. So you don't need to create a new profile. Yeah. Oh, something I forgot to mention. ArchiCAD gives us the ability to export and to import. So let's say I've installed ArchiCAD, or I'm envisioning installing ArchiCAD new on a new computer, or I'm working on a new computer. I'd want to move with my work environment. So I can export this, choose the location where I want. I can browse. Let's say it's there on documents. Yeah, and give it the name. So this is the name in which the profile data is saved. So on my new project, just go to import if there are any profiles. So currently this Chisano Advanced is the one I use. So whenever I'm opening a new install of ArchiCAD, this Chisano Advanced, I created it using ArchiCAD 23. So profiles are, you can use them on any version. So they are compatible with any version. So I'm sure that these profiles, provided that they are tools, I think I wouldn't use this with ArchiCAD 18 probably because my MEP tools will not be active. Yeah, so ArchiCAD, you can work with that. Yeah. Anybody else? Oh, Dennis, I've seen your reply. No extensions, no add-ins, just reorganizing my work environment. So let me show you what my current one looks like. Uh, yeah, so this is the, no, oh yeah, let me go work, apply profile. Let me apply it here. So in addition to these basic ones, I also have one palette for renovation. I have a palette for my trace reference. So if I'm on ground floor and I want to trace, let's say, above current story, I can change the color of this reference using this palette here. I can change the color of the active. Yeah, so as a gift for joining me, I'm going to upload this profile for you, for anyone who might be interested in using this profile. So I'm going to upload it. I'm going to share it along with the instructions on how to get it, set it up. Yeah, so I'm sure this might be some help to you. Yeah, so we also have layers and attributes. So as we move on, I'm going to show how I use these attributes. So attributes, I think we're going to cover them on Wednesday. Yeah, and control your space. Yeah. So anything else? Any new questions? Okay, so we've taken much shorter than I expected, but that's, I think, a plus. Yeah, I think it goes to show how easy ArchiCAD can be. Don't need that much time. Yeah, so I'm going to provide this recording if there's something that you may have missed. If you have any questions that may arise, feel free to text me. I'm sure everyone of you has my contact info right now. So you can email, but WhatsApp is much better. It's much more immediate. Yeah. So if there is nothing else to add, I think we might call it a day and yeah, work on something else. Yeah, so feel free to leave the meeting. Thank you, Sharon. I'll see you tomorrow. Where will the profile be uploaded? I'm going to upload on Google Drive, and then I'm going to send you the link individually to your inboxes. Okay, so thank you. I'm going to end the meeting right now. Have a nice time.